Organizations can assess their external inputs to determine whether or not their internal social subsystems are designed in a manner that enables the organization to respond to external challenges and opportunities. So if the CSU, if Stan State wanted to grow, let's say, what are the external inputs they have? Well, they have resources, they have students, professors, technologies. We have a really good OIT system. We have a library that is 80% of our library stuff is on OIT. We have enough buildings. We have a fund, and all this works together to create a resource for the area. We also have competitors, right? We have UC Merced down south. Up north, we have UOP, we have Sac State, we have East Bay. We have these smaller colleges like MJC, San Joaquin Delta College, all that kind of stuff. We have government requirements. We have to follow certain government requirements in order for our students to get a degree. So all students have to take, a certain kind of writing courses, certain kinds of math courses, certain kinds of political science courses, certain kinds of gender and sexuality courses. And so those of you that have done an undergraduate here know this. And so those are government requirements that, an external accrediting government-based body has put upon us. We have suppliers, we have the MJC is in a way a supplier of students to us. We have food services and that sort of stuff. We have emerging challenges and opportunities. We can either grow within Turlock if we want, or if we see that there's a huge need for more and more students in further north to us in the Stockton area, we can go to the Stockton campus, right? Our diversity keeps on changing. We have we are a Hispanic serving institution, but as we've seen over time, the number of Asian students that we have is also growing. The number of African American students that we have is also growing, and their needs are going to have to be met as well, right? And we have a certain history. We are primarily for the Central Valley. We have to understand the Central Valley student, if you will. So we assess these external inputs to determine whether or not the internal social subsystems are designed in a manner that enables the organization to respond to the external challenges. If we are a Hispanic serving institution, if we do have larger and larger number of Asian students and larger number of African American students, we have to develop our systems in such a way that we address their needs. Hispanic students or Latino students may have different needs than the traditional student that we think of. We have a large number of students who don't live on campus. We are considered still pretty much a school that everyone kind of commutes to. Well, commuter students have different needs than traditional students. So we look at these inputs, the environment, the resources, the history, and then we transform them. An organization transforms the inputs into something and expose them to the external environment. So we include individuals, informal organizations, formal organizations, and tasks to figure out what the best thing is. We look at the organization in terms of goal attainment, resource utilization, and adaptability. What can we do with our budget? What can we do to address the changing needs of our student demographic? We examine groups. We examine how the MPA program is doing, how the MBA program is doing, how nursing is doing. Certain programs may be growing more than others, right? Like nursing is always growing, education is always growing, the MPA is pretty much full capacity, the MBA is full capacity. Certain programs might be getting smaller. Even though we are a Hispanic serving institution, we had a hard time, 5 or 6 years ago to really buck up the ethnic studies program, which was strange to us, but as the group of College of Humanities and Social Sciences got together, we realized that we really had to infuse more energy into that department. And then we have individuals. We have students who, we need to work with, who need to work with us, who need to understand our requirements, whose requirements we need to understand, So all this means that we have to enact different kinds of changes, developmental changes, transitional changes, and transformational changes. Developmental changes, and I'm going to read from page 91, the last couple of lines, is an improvement on the current reality. The change is done via knowledge training or performance improvement interventions. The current organizational culture and the mindset of the employees, in this case the university employees such as both students and administrators and faculty, usually support the change. So if If we find that we need to address more needs for African American, Latino, and Asian students, I think faculty, students, as well as administration would be behind it because they see that need all around us. Transitional change replaces the current reality with something known but different. At the beginning of the change effort, specific desired outcomes are defined and the change will occur over a predetermined timetable. The organizational subsystems may be changed, but usually there are only minor changes in the culture. Classic strategic planning is an example of this type of change effort. So if we're looking at the strategy of making the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences larger, like growing growing at the MPA, growing the MBA. Well, we do traditional strategic plan to see, what inputs can happen to allow that growth to happen, okay? So that's transitional change. We're transitioning from a smaller to a larger. We're transitioning from, a 60-40 female to male ratio to a 50-50 female to male ratio in our students, that sort of stuff. We're transitioning from less female professors to more female professors. We're transitioning from, less diversity in our professors to more diversity. That can require classical strategic planning. Now, transformational change is a response to complex challenges and opportunities in which the change begins with the shared leadership of the organization identifying the desired future state. It is impossible and unwise to respond to this type of complex and turbulent situation by identification of specific action steps. The change strategy must be designed to allow for rapid course corrections. The transformational change will only succeed if there is a major shift in the organization's culture, mindset, thinking, systems, patterns, and behavior. Let's say we want to go from a traditional face-to-face university to a much more greater online presence. That's a huge transformational change. You are working with professors who've been working here for 20, 30 years and have come, given the lectures, and left. Now all of a sudden they have to learn new systems. Students have to learn new systems. Blackboard is woefully inadequate to address issues of much more complex online learning. So professors have to learn Moodle, Canvas, Blackboard, Zoom. We're going to use Zoom in this course. And a whole bunch of other things. We're transforming from a traditional university to a non-traditional university if we feel that is the way our students are going. For that, we need constant interaction with all the different subsystems that will be affected, and we need a path that allows for course corrections, which means that we can't just say, well, we're going to have 40% of our courses online and that's the way it is. We're going to have to look at each and every course, each and every program, each and everything and say, okay, does this course really work well with the kind of professors teaching it and the kind of information it has to relay itself to an online model? Does this course not work well? Which courses are students okay with? Can you imagine if we made statistics primarily online? Students already, for some reason, in the MPA program and overall at this university have a fear of math, a phobia that is almost frighteningly scary, just scary in general. Imagine making that totally online with absolutely no professor interaction. Students would just kind of fall over themselves. So if we wanted to make that transformational change, we'd have to do it in such a way that we would have to make it, figure out which classes work, which classes don't, or can we shift statistics in such a way that students still get the main crux of it, but can get it in a more online format. So external inputs, transformative processes, the change and the level of system change needs to happen, and then we have to understand all the different organizational social systems, the social systems of the students and the professors, all that kind of stuff. So pages 90 to 92 are really essential, or 89 to 92, to understand how change can happen. And the Nadler-Tushman congruence model, this tiny little open systems model table, really packs a lot of information in one setting, but it gives you a great understanding as to how systems changes happen. Other systems modeling are Gestalt systems, sustainable management models, and dialogic OD and systems theory. I'm not that concerned. I want you to go over this, just skim over it, but it's really getting into the meat of systems theory. It's kind of a little beyond your scope. What I really wanted you to understand was the systems approach to OD. If you have any questions about Gestalt or dialogic OD, I can discuss them, but I'm not really that concerned as to whether or not you don't understand them. We will discuss them in the Zoom meeting at some level.